Welcome to the Roses Are Red podcast with your host, Mrs. Red Rose, and co-host, Bree Talks.
Welcome in everyone. Of course, Bree we're missing today. She is out. She had some.
I'm Bree Cox. What are you talking
So
about?
yeah, Kaylee is Bree. She is our special guest of the night. So thank you, Kaylee, for coming and hanging out with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. It's been so long. Tonight's episode, welcome everyone again to the Rose Are Red. I'm your host, Mrs. Red Rose, and tonight's episode, we'll be going into the case of Jeffrey. I always want to say Einstein. Oh, we lost her. She should be back here soon. So I guess we'll wait a couple minutes for her to come back on and see what happened. I think we lost her for a couple minutes. Let's see. And of course we're live, so a lot of shit always happens. But anyways, today we're going. There we go. There we go.
I don't know what I'm doing. I pressed something and it was like, bye. Sorry.
I was like, where'd she go?
I will do that again. Okay, that button does not don't press buttons. I'm sorry.
Those are
You're in
fast.
the middle of your intro.
I don't know how well this is gonna go, but this is where we're gonna go. Where was okay? So, this story involves money, power, influential connections, allegations of sexual exploitation, failure within the justice system, and survivors who spent years fighting for their voices to be heard. And even after Jeffrey Epstein's death in 2019, questions surrounding this case have never completely disappeared. Before we begin, I want to give everyone a content warning. This episode discusses the sexual abuse and exploitation of minors. I am not going to go into unnecessary graphic details, but some of what we are discussing may be difficult to hear. I also want to make something very clear from the beginning. There are many famous and powerful people whose names have appeared in documentary photographs, contact books, flight logs, testimonies, or other records connecting in some way to Jeffrey Epstein. Being named in this documentary or knowing Epstein does not automatically mean that that person committed a crime. Without this, throughout this episode, we're going to separate the documentary facts being allegations and just speculations because this case was really big. It was really, really big. So now we can get into all the good stuff. My co-host tonight will be Kaylee. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, you know, in the story, before we get into the Jeffrey Epstein background, what shocked you the most? The crime itself, Epstein's power connections. Like what made you like? Because I know you didn't into this.
Yeah, actually, it wasn't. It's probably my answer to this is probably weird, but um, despite how he wrote in the emails, like he writes like a 12-year-old, but he is actually very not just interested in the occult, but very well versed in the occult. Like there's an email between him and a couple different people, but like a few different times where you can actually see like, oh, this guy's not an actual moron, because most of his emails are like, okay, okay, tell them, but and it's like just like really poorly written. But in
Mhm.
these emails, even though they're poorly written, he definitely knows what he's talking about, and he's talking about esoteric stuff with someone who's been redacted, but like an esoteric type person, and he just, yeah, he, much like the Nazis, they spent a lot of time, like there was the war, but while everyone was paying attention to that, they were in the Antarctic, they were all over the world, like scouring everything, looking for um ancient everything, because they were looking for something specifically, but like they were very much into the occult and esoteric things as well. Um, and so yeah, just how much of that he was into, I just found weird, but like fitting, but weird. Um, Fitting because, he's very much into like rituals and stuff like that. But um, yeah, like fitting in that way, but weird as in just, I mean, we all thought it was just sex trafficking, and this is a guy that was involved in the Iran-Contra wars and stuff like that, so it goes beyond that.
Yeah. Um,
So,
so
yeah.
Jeff,
What about you?
you know what? I think for me, when I first heard this story, it was kind of like it was all over the news, right? And it was um I think this is right when P. Diddy was getting, I think when P. Diddy, all that broke out when he was going to
Mm,
court documents, that's when the documentary, the Epstein Files, I want to say, is when I heard about it. But I never did a deep dive until recently, and we've been talking about going down a rabbit holes on a lot of the stuff. The, this story, though, it connects a lot of people. Like, I mean, we're going back to um J Lo to Run MD, and like it goes
mhm.
back. Why? I mean, when I was a kid, because when I was doing this deep dive into it, I was going, oh wow, Usher was involved, like when with Aaliyah, and then Aaliyah connected to somebody, so it's like it was a big connection, and
Mhm.
that's when I was like, okay, this is very interesting. Um, that's when I kind of put a deep dive into it at that per se, when this actually broke, because to be honest with you, I never even heard of them until the P
Yeah.
stuff came out. That's when I heard about them. But before then, I had no clue. I don't remember even knowing anything about them by then.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like a lot of people did. But for the average person, I don't think that anyone would expect people like you or I to know who he is at all. I don't think that they ever expected anyone outside of the people that like knew who he was from blackmail stuff to know anything about him.
No, I really didn't. I didn't even know someone like him even existed, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I always thought, like, in the music world, I always thought you had your manager and your manager managed you, or in in the film industry. That's kind of how I always thought. You had
yeah.
someone, and that person would manage your contracts or whatever, and they would get you your gigs, but this goes into really in depth of more than that. Like, and I know a lot of people were saying this is kind of like a cult type of thing, like I did see that part where they were relaying it to like a cult where you have to do something. And, and I don't know if you heard of Perez Hilton recently, who
Yeah.
just on TikTok, what he did.
Cut himself up. Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying that this is related to that, the whole shrine of all this stuff to get the fame and fortune and selling your soul and all that stuff, which is
Maybe. I think it's see, this is the thing is Perez Hilton is someone that it's too late for him because he spent the early 90s degrading and posting like skirt up shots of Lindsay Lohan and all these girls when they were underage. Like he spent the 90s shitting on celebrities and like okay, they're millionaires, whatever, but they're people too. And like Britney Spears, all these girls that are having trouble now, he spent the 90s posting their like pictures of their vaginas, like drawing dicks on their pictures with like and cum shots at their face. Like the most disgusting stuff. He had these girls tell him like, "Hey, please stop talking about me," and he didn't. And now he's getting into his later years, and he's just not as successful as he was in the early 90s. He doesn't have a following. People think he's gross because he is, and he can't move beyond a certain threshold, like in entertainment, because he sullied his name so much in the 90s that like he can only ever get to like here, which is like mid-tier sponsors maybe. Like as much as he tries to clean himself up, like, and people, I'm not surprised if anyone feels bad for him because he's going through a psychological episode. But in my opinion, I'm like, this has nothing to do with anyone more powerful than him. It has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. It has nothing to do with the Boule or any secret society. This is straight up Perez Hilton losing his mind because whatever happened, like something happened. I mean, I guess when you're just after fame like that for so many years and you never get it, and then you're getting to a point in your career where now you're old, just like the people that you used to make fun of. Now you don't have career prospects and all that. Like someone like him was always bound to end up in this position. As much as I want to feel bad for him, I just don't because he was so horrible to so many like men too, but so many women in the 90s. But yeah, so like someone like him, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, like it's either fake," which I don't think it's fake. I think that that was very real. It was a psychological break or something like that. Some people will say it's fake. Some people will say that it was like his initiation into something. But again, if you want to go that route, you have to go initiation into what and what can he be useful for? Because at this point, he's only useful to be a useful media idiot. There's enough of those, and they have them in their pockets already.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think he just needs a hospital, some bed rest, and to get the fuck off the internet. It's been too long for that old bastard.
I agree. I think you're absolutely right. So so
Yeah, just because it would be like if I did that and let's say I got famous because I just went on like I'm nobody, but I actually got famous doing that on TikTok. I would actually have more of a chance to get scooped up by a secret society or somebody that has an agenda for someone like me, where because people would know me as the girl who cut herself all over TikTok, but I can still be formed and molded into something else that can be like given to the public. Whereas Perez Hilton has already formed himself into a piece of shit, so all you're ever gonna get is a turd, no matter where you put him.
you know, honest with you, I didn't know. Like, I never really followed him when I was a kid. Growing up, I really never cared for him at all. Like, he
Yeah.
was very interesting. Um, but I did as going. Now like I've seen him a couple of times on TikTok and stuff like that. I didn't realize how many people really hated him because to be honest with you, I went down that rabbit hole because I did not know um I didn't know uh what he'd done prior, like what he did to Britney Spears, Paris Hilton. There was another famous person he did it to. Uh
Lindsay Lohan,
Leo,
that was one.
the other one, Amanda Bynes,
Yeah.
these celebrities. Like I didn't know what and you know how I found out actually when I follow Hank and Henry on TikTok
Mhm.
and I really respect the guy because he's always very blunt and he says it how it is. Like and so I was listening to him and he what he was saying and I was like, wow, why is he so angry at him? Like what did this guy really do? And that's how I went down that rabbit hole, and that's how I found out that he was a big jerk. He was a douche. He was a big
Yeah.
and I was like, and then one of those clips that came out on TMZ, he was saying that he's no longer gay and this and that. I'm like, wow, that's kind of
Yeah.
here, because that's what he really kind of went for this whole
Well,
time.
yeah, he's trying to grift. He's trying anything. He will literally sell out any part of himself, including being gay. He's absolutely gay. He's the gayest thing ever. Like
Yeah,
he's been gay.
I don't I guess I want to say, how do you turn on a switch and off a switch and go, okay, well, today I'm this and tomorrow, I mean, I get it, bisexual, right? I get
Yeah,
that, but
I would believe it if it was anyone but him. because like he doesn't do anything like that unless it's financially motivated. Like he's got to be down bad if he's saying he's straight.
Right? Because that's why I was like, wait a minute, this guy advocated for so long. I do remember that because
Yeah.
I remember all his crazy outfits he would wear to court and stuff, So,
Yeah.
but we'll tell you. Oh, we got to go down that rabbit hole one day. Um, so
Why you shouldn't feel bad for Perez Hilton rabbit hole.
who is Jeffrey Epstein? Tell you, I want to call him Einstein. Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1953. Um, um, which is I didn't know he was born in New York. I was kind of crazy for me to.
Mm.
I was thinking more. I honestly, I thought maybe California. I that's where I was thinking, like,
Oh,
up in like Beverly Hills area is where I thought he was born. So when I found out that he was born in New York, I was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I
yeah. Well,
picture him as a New Yorker, I guess.
his title for a long time, like when people would say Jeffrey Epstein, it would be underneath, it'd be like New York financier. So that's where he's got a lot of his connections.
Connect. Oh, gotcha. Um, what's interesting about his early career is that he didn't follow the path you might expected for someone who would eventually uh, move within the circle of extraordinary wealth. So that's something I did learn. Epstein attended college, but did not graduate, which I didn't know. I thought
Yeah.
him he would have graduated, despite not having college degree. He eventually taught mathematics and physics uh, at a Daytona school in Manhattan. Did you know that?
Yeah. At a private school too. He was, I think it was the headmaster that got him in or something because again, he at the school that he was teaching for someone without a college degree, he shouldn't have been there.
And that's something interesting that I hear because I was talking to another friend of mine, and he's a couple hours away from me, and he was telling me that his daughter's first grade teacher um is an intern, and she doesn't.
Mm.
I'm like going, wait a minute, hold up, like why are you? I thought you had to have a degree to at least that's what I thought. Now, someone
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I thought, that you had to have a degree to be able to teach. I didn't know. I mean, maybe I should have asked my father-in-law since he's a
Well,
tenured.
normally you have to actually go to teachers college, like at least for 1 year. I mean, you may have a degree that's related that may allow you to, I think teachers college in Canada is like 1 or 2 years. That's like the bare minimum. And he didn't do any of that. Like he didn't even go like graduate college to get this job.
That is
It would be like me. I dropped out of high school, which is, I mean, if you've dropped out of college, if you've dropped out of high school, like when I did, at this point, it's pretty much the same thing. So it's like I have no business being in a classroom. The only reason that I can run my programs is because I organize them, but I don't teach. Whereas with Jeffrey Epstein, again, there's no reason that he like I could see if it was a different school, a school without a name, a school that's not a private school. Because I mean, at any private school, if teachers found out that their kid was being taught by somebody who was technically uneducated, they'd be pissed. They wouldn't
right.
give a shit about like how good the teacher is. They would see like, oh, like your kid comes home and goes, oh, so and so doesn't have their college degree and they teach us math. Ha ha ha. Like, do you think a private school parent is going to be fine with that?
I would be
So
livid. I would be livid, and I only say that is because um there is a college school that's really been pounding down my neck that they want my son to go there, right? Um, but it's like $80,000 a year, and I'm like going, and that's not even. I think that's boarding. There's outside boarding, but anyways, if I'm paying that kind of money and I'm paying it for, and God bless you, all teachers out there. You know what,
yes,
you take a lot because as this time of year, I always say it's my vacation because the kids go to school. and I get to stay home by myself. Um, it's my vacation time. But God bless you all. But also, if I'm paying that amount of money for a teacher that is doesn't have that degree or something, I kind of start looking at what the curriculum of my kid is going to be learning. Or, why am I paying this much money for, like I said, I don't want to put any teachers down. You guys do an amazing job, and aides and everything. You guys all do amazing. But if I'm paying 80, what am I paying the 80 for? Because I'm thinking I'm paying top notch, right? I
Yeah.
think so. For him to do this in a private school and nobody, I don't know if anybody even knew.
No, I think he didn't he get fired from he either got fired from there or he moved on to something else. Because that's the other thing is he seems to get like fired and then just like his next job is something even more bombastic.
In my notes that I wrote, it just I didn't find out if he actually got fired, but I just put down that then he took another spiral turn and entered into the financial world, um,
Yeah.
which is the Bearsteins. The Bearsteins eventually Epstein began presenting himself as a private money manager serving extraordinary wealth clients. Is what I have
Yeah.
in notes. Um, which to be honest with you, I don't know what a private manager uh serving extraordinary wealth clients. What in the world?
Oh yeah, he was fired from the school. Just
Okay,
FYI.
okay. So he was fired from the school. Does it say why he was fired from the school?
Poor performance, according to school leadership at the time, including Peter Branch, who served as an interim headmaster following Donald Barr. Epstein was officially dismissed because his teaching ability was inadequate. An evaluation found that his teaching skills didn't come up to snuff, but that's quoted. Um, and then the context and reports, so lack of credentials. He'd been hired in 1974 to teach, this is the other thing, to teach math and physics. Again, if you're paying for a private school and your math and physics teacher is just some, like, of course they didn't know at the time, but just some like sexual predator with no other fucking, like,
Right.
yeah, anyway, math and physics, yeah. And he had no college degree because he dropped out of both Cooper Union and New York University, and he was also fired for inappropriate boundaries. While school officials stated at the time that his termination was strictly due to poor teaching performance, multiple former students later recalled that Epstein exhibited boundary crossing behavior. He was known for dressing flamboyantly, surrounding himself primarily with teenage female students during non teaching hours, and attended high school parties where alcohol was served. Oh yeah, that's what I read too. Is that like he was known, like I said, he had a reputation where like when he wasn't teaching, his female students were surrounding him, like they were all obsessed with him. Well, I'm sure that he intended it for it to be that way. And yeah, so he was also fired for that, even though the school didn't admit it. But it was probably literally just for that because poor performance would be an easy way out so that you don't have to prosecute every single complaint. Like they probably had someone complain and they shut them up and then just fired him and tried to move on. That's how
He,
they generally operate.
so I don't know. You went from so he goes from math, and then he goes to uh private private money manager serving extraordinary wealth clients. I'm kind of confused there.
Hmm.
How the hell do you go from being a math teacher to all of a sudden, like, did you take these clients? Did you take the clients from school, the wealth, where? I'm kind of confused. That kind of confused me there. Where you jump from one ship to another. I'm just wondering, did they give him access to the books? Did he see that this is where money was at because of the kids he was having at a private school? Like I'm just that part really, to be honest with you, confused me because I couldn't. I'm like going, okay, well, why did he jump ship? He went from one to another.
Yeah.
And
Well, but that was a Wexner. So he was friends with Les Wexner, who's the owner of um, what is it? Victoria's Secret, and he's a Zionist, of course. So that's essentially where, again, this is weird. This is where Jeffrey Epstein got his first huge chunk of money. Is Lex Wessner signed everything over to him, estates, money,
Oh,
everything.
why?
Nobody knows. Like it just it's like either he had something on Lex that was enough to make Lex sign over everything without complaining, which doesn't make sense because Lex technically should have more pull than Epstein when it comes to the people above them. But I think because Epstein was representing someone slash something, aka the Rothschilds, but like more than just the Rothschilds, I think that it was like he kind of outranked Les Wexner, and Lex might have done something where they were like, you know what, we need your money, so you're gonna give your money to this guy because we're funding him for certain things, and you shut the hell up, you go back to Tel Aviv, or you stay and whatever, you can stay in New York, but we need your money and you're gonna give it to us. Like he had to be blackmailed out of that. Otherwise, like I just don't get it because it's like if you want to give your sex offender friend money, you could just do that. You don't have to give them everything.
Right? I mean, unless I trust you and to run my company, and if I didn't have any children or I wasn't married or well, I mean, even if I was married and let's say I didn't trust my husband or whatever, I'd be like, okay, Kayla, here you go. Here are the keys. If I ever go, you got them.
Yeah,
You know,
and
I'm
yeah,
surprised
and it's like
your empire because I mean, Victoria's Secret is like that's you a number one lingerie per se that people don't argue about it. They see them in undies and in bras, walking down the runway. That's
yeah. Well,
what
now the theory is that the whole runway thing is a display of which women are available to the super wealthy. So because Wexner, like basically, so he gave Epstein like unprecedented authority. Like he granted him power of attorney, and it allowed Epstein to like sign his checks, manage real estate, buy assets, borrow money, um, hire hire personnel on Wexner's behalf, and then he also gave him the bulk of his wealth, because he was not only Epstein's main client, he was the primary client. Epstein had like two clients, and I think they were both Wex, like Wex in a trench coat. Like I have no idea, but there were two clients, but Wex was definitely the major one. And like it netted Epstein tens of millions of dollars. Now, if you had a real money manager, they could do whatever Epstein was doing, and you wouldn't have to pay them the like majority of your wealth.
right? But he gained so this is really interesting. And so I was going down all these rabbit holes, right? With this story. He gained a lot of power of a lot of people's financial shit.
Yeah,
How I mean, that's something I'd like to know. How the fuck do you do that without either blackmailing them, knowing something that they don't want the public to know, or you're providing something for them? How the
yeah,
hell did this guy have so much power of important people? We're not talking about, you know, artists that are barely starting that, oh, you know what, I want to be a rock star. We're not talking about little people here that are trying to jump up the ladder. We're talking people that were
yeah.
up the ladder, up the chain of the command. And how did this guy do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of seems like when he got fired from the Dalton school, like, so remember, because you know how there's Palm Beach Pete going around, right?
Yeah.
So basically, like, he met Lex through, like, their connections on Palm Beach. Like, at something. So certainly, like in the parties that he was going to, he was making contacts. But again, I make contacts all day, every day, but none of them want to give me all their money to manage. Now, Lex did eventually, in I think it was 2007, he did distance himself from Epstein and say that Epstein was misappropriating funds, which of course, but like it just kind of goes to show you because there's that email from Epstein to someone else that says, like, as you know, I represent the Rothschilds. So if you really want to look at it, at some point, like whether it was from the very beginning, even when he was like working at the school or whatever, but at some point the Rothschilds started like that's where his money went. Everyone's like, oh, how did he get all of this and like how was he able to fund that, whatever. Well, I mean, if you're literally going, as you know, I represent the Rothschilds, then you have access to like a lot of money. But you get that access because they like you have to give them what they want. Just like, for instance, the and like we won't get into the whole conflict or whatever, but with what's going on in Israel and Palestine, if you look at the declaration, like the first sheet of paper written to solidify that Israel is going to go here starts with dear Lord Rothschild.
Oh, okay.
So it's, yeah, and it was basically like the British owned Palestine at that time. Um, so all of a sudden, to have Israel installed there, the first letter sent out about it to get the okay or whatever starts with "Dear Lord Rothschild." So the Rothschilds have like they're involved. They're one of the 13. There might be 14 families. There's one that we didn't quite know about, but there's like 13 major families. Depending on the asset you're talking about, like whether it's minerals, oil, whatever. And the Rothschilds are the oldest and like richest out of the majority of them. Um,
I did not know.
so yeah, that's the connection there is like who was funding him? Well, we do know from the emails anyway that most likely the Rothschilds.
That's yeah, I didn't know that. So I have a question for you. How do you think Epstein was able to get so much trust and many from all these many influential people? You know, like I said, you've got P. Diddy, you've got Jay-Z, you've got Beyonce. I mean, the list goes
Yeah.
on. And I'm not talking about five people. We're talking about hundreds of really well-known influential people.
Yeah.
And
Um,
a good talker, like a those what do they call them, smooth talkers and stuff.
yeah, that's how he's been described. Like he's been described as this very interesting person in real life, which I would imagine he was. Like, despite being a disgusting pedophile, like he really in real life probably was a very interesting person. He had a very interesting past, but it also depends on what you find interesting. So when it comes to like the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncé's and stuff showing up on his flight logs, like again, until these motherfuckers answer some shit. Like first of all, I think being on the flight log is enough to have you called in to actually sit down and answer some questions, such as why were you on the plane? Because I mean, there's a good chance, and this is the thing with celebrities at a certain net worth, like when you're at a Jay-Z, Beyonce status, like I could see them being on his plane and like I don't know if they went to the island, but I could see them like someone being like, "Oh yeah, use this jet that's over here, or whatever. Like they're ready to go, they'll take you." And then you got Jay-Z and Beyonce on there or whatever celebrity. Because again, unless you pay them, celebrities aren't they don't really want to hang out with randos at that age. Like they've already got their locked in people, and so it's like they're not gonna fly out to just meet you.
Yeah.
So yeah, until like people like Jay-Z and Beyonce, like until the actual celebrities that were on the flight logs are sat down and questioned, and it's like, why were you there? Then I don't think we'll ever know. but his connections to outside of celebrities, his connections to like, say we saw Richard Dawkins was there, whatever, or Hawkins, fuck the scientist, the one in the wheelchair.
Oh, that
Yeah,
surprised.
like
To be honest with you, that surprised me that he was there because you look at the guy. I mean, he's in a wheelchair. He talks through a computer, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like a little
yeah.
laptop and stuff. And when I heard that he was there, I was like, holy shit, this guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is he would throw these soirees, and that's how he got so influential among various circles. So like he would have people like him come in. He would have people at the top of their fields come in, and they would come in for a dinner. And again, until these somebody sits these motherfuckers down and asks them like, why were you there? I mean, the main thing is, from what I understand, is that he would like get a bunch of scientists together, and he was again, from what I've read, uh, pretty smart in certain areas. He's a transhumanist, like Elon Musk and those other dickheads, where it's like they don't care about us because their whole thing is, well, when we die, we're hoping to upload everyone to the cloud, and it's like, suck my cloud, motherfucker. I didn't ask for that. Jesus Christ. Like,
You know you want to go
but
up on
like,
the cloud. Come on, Kaylee.
yeah, so like everyone's talking about everyone talks about the sex trafficking and everything, but in these meetings, like he's meeting with all of these like top of their field scientists and whatever, and then introducing them to each other as well, because a lot of them had never met before. But then at the same time, he's a eugenicist, and he sets up and funds eugenicist labs. And then he's also like a transhumanist, like I said. And then he had the Zorro Ranch, which the estate itself won the lottery. If you Google it, Google will be like, well, a Zorro estate did win the lottery, but there's no proof that it was Epstein. It's like, it's New Mexico and it was a Zorro Ranch. Who else could it be, you fucks? Like, there's so many people that try to make excuses for this stuff, and it's like, no, there's only one possible. You can say that you don't know because it, like, nobody stepped out from the trust and was like, oh yeah, it's us, Epstein. Like, but
Right.
come on, Zorro Ranch. Anyway, so, but that was apparently because he wanted to spread his seed all over the world because he thought that he was very smart and masterful person, and his DNA should be in more people. Anyway, so, but he was into the whole like dystopian, like baby making farms, which is what that estate was. Like, if you look at where it's placed, if anyone got away, it would be so easy to find them
Oh yeah.
because you would catch them before the authorities they would get to any authorities.
You know, that brings me up to
So,
my next question for you. Do you think wealth and status can sometimes cause people to overlook the warning signs they might otherwise recognize? Like, do you think that, because of their status and their wealth, like, I mean, I look at, because I followed the P Diddy pretty closely, the whole case, right? I mean, it was down the street
yeah.
from, I mean, a couple hours away from where I'm at, but I say down the street because LA is not that far from me. Um, do you think that maybe because of his money, his power, people overlooked those red flags that um they could have been like, I don't know, or do you think people are just so, I don't want to say desperate to be fame because it just kind of sounds bad,
Mm,
right? But do you think people just
yeah.
so they just want it so bad to be on that next level that they're willing to sell anything? I mean, I've noticed that lately a
Mhm.
lot of with the OF contact and stuff with a lot of people, but I'm like, yeah, I don't think, for me personally, I don't think I could.
Yeah. I mean, like, see, this is the part of the problem with sorry, your question was
Uh,
like,
do you think
at
wealth
a certain point, do
status,
you think it corrupts you?
yeah,
Yeah,
wealth and status can sometimes cause people to overlook the warning signs?
yeah, like my personal opinion is that you like, just again, my personal opinion, I don't think you can make $1 billion without like I don't think you can make $1 billion and still be clean, if that makes sense. Like it's still be not necessarily pure. No one is pure, but still have the purity of yourself before you made that $1 billion. Because like the difference between a million and a billion is like the difference between one penny and $1 million. Like if I had one penny right now and nothing else, like, and you're telling me to get to $1 million, like that's the distance that you have to go, you know? So, and the distance between a million and a billion is way bigger than that. So to get to a billion, just 1 billion, I don't think you can, it's possible to do that while being a good person. You look at Jeff Bezos's ex-wife, she's donated more money than anybody in history, with her part of like the money that she got in the divorce. Uh, so like that's one possibility, but there are not too many people like that. And of course, I don't know anything about her. So I think it's the point, yeah, you do have to sacrifice a piece of yourself. And so when people are like, oh, people are selling their souls or whatever, maybe they are in some ritualistic way, I don't know, but there's also a way of looking at it of like selling your soul as in like you're going to behave this way now because you're going to get X amount of money. There's a lot of different ways to, instead of using sell your soul, I guess you could say there's a lot of different ways to sell out. Um,
Yeah.
it could be, yeah, like I don't really believe in this whole you have to let them kill someone that you love, or you have to kill someone that you love. Like there's a lot of people like if you know the $1 million worth of game podcast with Willie and wait, is it Willie? Wallow and Gilly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wallow and Gilly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like just before Gilly made a shit ton of money, or just after, sorry, then his son was killed. And people were like, see, like it's the whole ritual, like, blah blah blah. There's a lot of things like that happen, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but that shit, I don't think that happens over a couple $1 million. Like,
No.
I don't think that happens over even like in the 20s, $30 million range. Because if you're gonna sell out, like the person that wants that, they want to pay you more because they want more from you. Like to take a risk of going to someone and being like, yeah, I'm going to take who you are in some sense or whatever. Like you're not going to go there and offer an amount of money that they're going to look at like, wait, only 100 million? Like,
It's funny that you say that because now that I'm sitting back here and I'm listening to you say all this. You know what it made me think of? Everybody in every place has their thing, right? You've got gangs, you got this and that, right? And in Mexico, you've got the cartels, and then you've got now
mhm.
a new group, which is not the cartels. It's I can't remember what it is, but it's before you get to the higher level of a cartel, right? And it kind of sounds like that's what kind of what we're doing in the U.S. They just haven't. It doesn't have that title,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing because you got to pay to be where you're at.
Mhm.
You want the
Yeah.
you got to pay it. You want this, you got to pay it. It's the same thing, and and it's kind of
Well,
interesting.
actually, speaking of Mexico, there was that Mexican there's a video clip of her, and I remember seeing it when it came out, and I just like everybody else was like crazy Mexican lady just moved on. Like that's all you could do at the time because that's all it looked like. Nobody had any inclination about anything else, right? But now that that clip is coming back, basically she had run out of one of these parties that were being held at an estate where apparently like it was a Jeffrey Epstein thing, but she ran out. She's in the streets and she's screaming, like, and not some kind of like psychotic break screaming, like she's genuinely terrified. And it translated to English, she's screaming, oh my God, like I didn't know it was like this. And then it's like, I knew that they like kill people, but they're in there eating babies, they're in there eating people, they're eating people. Like she's freaking out. So on the one hand, when you watch it, you're watching a video of a genuinely terrified woman, but with the translations, I always do kind of giggle a little bit because she's like, I knew about the murders, but like they're eating people, and like just how casually she was like, well, I knew that they killed people, but oh my God, like they're eating them, like what's going on? And so when that video first came out, I remember seeing it. I was way younger, and I was just like, weird, next, But like now that video's come back, and first of all, nobody can find her. Nobody knows who she is. Nobody knows where she is. And like everything that she's yelling are things that are coming up through the files. And then on top of that, if you take someone like take the relationship that P. Diddy had with J Lo at the time, for instance, and it's no secret that J Lo is into Santa Maria, like which is again not a bad thing. It's her own religion, her own practices from her own culture. There's nothing wrong with that. Like or hoodoo or voodoo. There's nothing wrong with those things. But I think one of her exes literally divorced her, and he was basically like, "This bitch is killing chickens and shit. Fuck that." Like he divorced her though because she actually still does animal sacrifice. But again, part
Well,
of the culture, part of the religion. Um, but
and
she's someone where again, she's 50 for what her career is, she shouldn't be as relevant as she still is. And she doesn't do enough in the media to be as relevant as she still is. But she's still extremely relevant.
I don't get it. I don't know, especially, I mean, I felt a little bit when she married Ben Affleck because I wanted to see the wedding. I love seeing, I love seeing celebrity weddings because it's like these huge, extravagant, and I'm like, oh, I just want to look at what they're wearing. Um,
Yeah.
it's either I'm gonna laugh at it and have a good laugh at some of these people's outfits because they're a little ridiculous, and some of them I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. All right,
Yeah.
I can see that. Um, I'm like, all right. So and this is a good spot to go. What happens behind the closed doors, behind Epstein's public image, that surrounded, that was something much darker, right? There was that nobody really knew, until in 2020 and 2005. The police of Palmdale Beach, Florida, began investigating Epstein's after the family of a teenage girl reported an encounter involving him, which
Yeah.
this is what we're going to get if you guys, at this point, kind of have a hard time with, children's stuff. I'm just a forewarning. This is where we get into that part because, investigations eventually began hearing accounts of multiple girls, uh, disturbing patterns, engagements that he was doing. Girls were allegedly, brought to Epstein's home. So they actually took these girls to his house, um, performed massages, the mess
Yeah.
for money
Massages.
massages, messages for money. According to investigations and later federal allegations, these encounters could become sexual. Another
Yeah.
disturbing, element was, recruitment. Some girls were reported paid to bring other girls to Epstein. Um, that to me, and not to get too personal on certain things. I do remember my daughter was involved in, when she was in high school in something like this where she was on the number one to be sex trafficking, to into Mexico.
Mm.
And this is the shit that I'm just like, it blows my mind. These are
Yeah.
these are children. What I don't and maybe I will never understand the satisfactory these people get with children. I don't get it. I can't have a
Yeah.
conversation with a 18-year-old. I'm 47. How the hell does a person have this conversation with the 15, 16-year-old and be like, "Oh my god, I'm so in love." I can't,
Well,
I
yeah,
can't.
no, it freaks me out. Like I just turned 38, and like the other week I was in because I obviously live in Thailand. So I was in a pharmacy and it was on Fight Street. There was this young dude in there, and I could tell like that the pharmacist was telling him in broken English, Tinglish, which is actually a real language now.
English.
Like, English is a real language. But anyway, yeah, she was telling him in English how to use the shit, and I could just tell by the look on his face that he was just nodding to say yes. He had no idea what she was actually saying, and her English wasn't bad. It was just he didn't know, and he was being too polite. And so I turned to him and I was like, "You understand that?" She said to put it like blah blah blah, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then she said blah blah blah, and he was like, "Oh, okay, okay, okay." And so we chatted for a second. And so he's 22, young black guy, super fit from the States, easier to train, whatever. And I was like, God damn, 22, you're so young, Jesus Christ. I'm like, not that you're making me feel old, but what the fuck? I've been here like you're 2 years older than like the amount of time that I've been here. And he goes, "You've been here for 20 years?" I'm like, "Yeah." Next year, yeah. And he's like, "How old are you?" I'm like, 38. And he's like, "You don't fucking look 38." He's like, "I'd still hit it." And I was like, "Well, thanks. I'm not old, but thank you." And he like, and we just had this like joke and then left, right? But like when I heard 22, first of all, I'm a lesbian, so nothing was gonna happen. But let's say that was a woman. When I hear 22, to me, I hear baby.
Right?
Like, yeah, I meet 20-year-olds here. I'm like, where the fuck are your parents? And then I'm like, oh wait, I got here when I was 18. I don't get to be that mean.
Even at
Where are your guardians? Like,
it's the same thing. Like I
so
look, oh, I'm 25. I'm like, oh, you're still a baby because I'm 46.
yeah.
You're still a baby. You got such a long way to be where I'm at. And they look at me. They're like, okay, crazy lady.
Yeah, I honestly think that so okay, like dating like age gaps that are legal, we'll put that aside. But I think like again, my dad was a clinician. He worked with the worst male adolescent sex offenders in Canada in a group home. And I gotta believe that it's genetic. Because if I believe that like there's a good part of me that believes that most people who are gay and identify that way or bi or whatever, I think it's just as genetic as coming out straight is. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think there's that much of a difference. And I hate to say it, but I think that being a pedophile and having a proclivity to want to date younger or whatever might also be genetic because nobody would want to choose that. Like now, if, it would be hard to ask a pedophile because it's sort of like asking me, like, well, okay, but wouldn't you rather date men? And it's like, obviously not. But with a pedophile, I think the answers could be very different because you wouldn't, like, if you were a good person, say a non-offending pedophile, which there are many, and they look for support groups, but there are no support groups for non-offending pedophiles. Like, and there maybe should be, to be honest.
Yeah.
But a
Yeah.
non-offending pedophile, yeah, like they know what they're attracted to. And if you ask them, wouldn't you rather be attracted to women your age? Yes, they would. They would 1000% rather that because they would be in a happy relationship right now, but they know that like deep down they know what they like, so they stay celibate.
And
And there's some of them that don't even have sex because they're worried that having sex, even with a legal woman, will then trigger like sexual needs in them that will then trigger them to want to get that from younger people.
you know,
So,
it's funny you say that because I remember when I was 25 and um I was freshly getting out of a divorce, right? And I was 25. I'd already had my daughter. And I was dating. Um, I didn't have anybody exclusive, right? But I was just seeing people. I was testing my waters out there and seeing people and seeing, I wasn't I wasn't dating. I was looking for, basically, to tell you the truth, I was looking for, okay, who's gonna be fit because I'm a single mom with a child and you know,
mhm.
I need to make sure that my child's gonna be taken care of and I can take care of her and blah 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 blah. I'm going to admit I was 25 dating a 60 plus year old man. I wasn't dating him for his money, to be honest with you. There was just something there that we connected in, and I've always dated older men. This is when I married my husband now. It's the first time I actually dated anybody with that we were the same age. Me and my
Mhm.
husband are the same age, and we've been married for 21 years. But yeah, before him, and he always tells me, yeah, he just wanted some old raunchy balls. He always says shit like that to me. But yeah, I never found anybody in my age group that I was attractive to. I mean, my daughter's father was a lot older than me too. But when you start realizing things like this now and you put it in perspective, you're like, oh shit, was there a warning sign that I could have caught on? Was there something that maybe I could have said, and the 60-plus-year-old man that I was, not old, but man that I was dating, um, it wasn't a sexual relationship. I must put that out there. It was not a sexual relationship. We would go out, he would fly my girlfriends, we would go to Vegas, we'd have a great time, but there's nothing sexual there. It was always just to have fun. So now that you put that into perspective that you just said, it kind of makes sense now. Do you know what I mean? Now at my age, it makes sense. And
Yeah.
I'm like going now at my age, I don't think I could ever date a 25-year-old my age. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's weird. Like, yeah. And I mean, it's just you're well adjusted and you've had those experiences, and I mean, now you've settled into like a life where, yeah, you can definitely look back on that, and I'm sure maybe look at things differently. But yeah, like again, now we're at a point where like I do like that we're at an age where say like women my age or your age are warning women in their early 20s about like still the fact that they can be taken advantage of, like just because they're legal doesn't mean that every age gap relationship is all good and dandy, and I have nothing against age gap relationships, right? But for a long time it was like, well, she's 18 now, so she can do whatever she wants, which is true. And people still they're like, oh, well, they're legal. Why do you give a shit? Like, why are you so upset by this or that or whatever? And it's like you can still see young people clearly being taken advantage of by older people. And I'm sure no matter how aware of those things happening you are, like it's bound to happen to you at some point. So yeah, just seeing it now and knowing like when I see a 20-year-old, I literally see a baby. Like
right?
and when a 20 or 21-year-old like in one of the running clubs, I'll join in like maybe once a week or whatever, just go on a jog with them. And last week, it's exactly this. This 21-year-old kid turned around, he's like, come on, come on, come on. Like, and I'm just jogging in the back because I'm not running like they are, right? And I looked at him and I was like, bitch, you are 21. You have been through nothing in life. This is the hardest thing that you've ever done thus far. Do not bitch at me until you have been through more. Life has not had a chance to drag you down to the depths of hell and just tell you how bad it could possibly get. Don't lecture me while we're running. And he was like laughing his ass off, right? But I'm just straight up, but like I was also being honest. Where I'm like, you've been through nothing in life. Get away from me. Like,
And
yeah,
like I said, now that I'm at this age and I look back, and I've got younger kids, and I look at my kids, I'm going, my daughter's 27, and I look at my daughter and I go, you know what? At her age, this is where I was in life. I try to picture her doing what I did. Fuck no, I would have beat the shit out of her. I
yeah,
would have beat the fucking shit out of her and said, "The fuck's wrong with you, bitch?" You know what I mean? I'd be like, you know,
yeah.
I mean, I'm very blessed that she turned nothing like me. Nothing. She's a mother. She's happily married, but nothing. So I'm very blessed that she turned nothing out like me. Because if she did, I'd be like, "The fuck, they-" um. So that and I look at the two twins from Full House,
Oh yeah, the Olsen twins.
the Olsen twins. The Olsen twins
Yeah.
were also wrapped up into the Epstein files, from my understanding, correct? Like, they had a part in this. I remember, I kind of remember them vaguely being dragged into it with everybody else.
Um.
Or am I mistaken?
I think. One
Or
second.
or is it because they
I
just
may.
married an older gentleman? One of them married the older gentleman that kind of just um
Uh. Oh no, it says they don't appear in the unsealed court documents, flight logs, address books, or official government releases. And it says where the rumor came from. Oh, viral fake lists. Uh, Following the unsealing of legal documents from the Guthrie versus Maxwell case, several fabricated lists circulated on social media platforms. Fact checkers verified that these posts falsely included dozens of high-profile celebrities, including the Olsen twins, who were never named anywhere in the files. Yeah, but however, they did still have their own thing. They were the first. They were the first 18. So there was Hermione Granger, the girl that played her in Harry Potter. Emma Watson. She was the second. But the Olsen twins were the first to get that countdown until they were 18 years old thing. And then it was Emma Watson was the second, I believe. But that used to happen, it still does, I'm sure, but back when there were less websites on the internet. That happened with a lot of young female celebrities where, like, when they're about to turn 18, someone would start a website called, like, olsonsturn18.com or whatever. And when you go to it, it's literally just a countdown to when they turn 18, aka they're legal to bang, which is just gross. So the Olsen twins, I would love to know what happened. Well, I mean, when I say I would love to know what happened to them, I would not love to know, to be honest. I would, from an inquiry point of view, I would like to know because uh,
I'm curious.
something, yeah, like as soon as they were old enough, they're like, we're not doing any more movies, we're not doing any more TV, we're not doing any more perfumes, we're not doing any more merch. We're getting married to our respective husbands and like fucking off out of Hollywood. Like they were out.
Yeah, and there were 30 years old of them. And I did
Yeah.
go I went down a rabbit hole with them, with the Olsen twins a little bit, because they did I was kind of I saw a Louis Vuitton poster because I had to go into the store and get something, so I went in there and I was looking at a poster that they had of the Olsen twins there, and I was just like, "Wow, where did we where did we think this is okay?" You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I look at them, no eyebrows, all this stuff. I'm looking at them going, "Where did this?"
Yeah,
This,
and Perez Hilton also was one of the people that he would try to get upskirt shots of them. They're very aware of him.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the Epstein's files, the girls were allegedly not not the Olsen twins, but girls. Getting back into the girls were allegedly brought to Epstein's home to perform massages for money, and according to allegations, they were later a federal investigation where these encounters were became could become sexual. Another disturbing element in the recruitment, some girls were reportedly paid to bring other girls into it. And when you hear the recruitment system that Epstein had, what stands out to you when you hear that?
Um, it's very much, it's actually, the recruitment system is very much like pimping. So he would train up. So at one point it was Virginia Guthrie, and again, one of the ones who said, if they ever say that I killed myself, I did not kill myself. And then, she never got to see the fruits of her work come to fruition, which I find sad because she is the reason that we are talking about any of this stuff now. Just to make that clear. So she's the one that banged Prince Andrew, and he was like, "My hand could have been photoshopped in that picture." It's like, shut up, you fat ugly cunt, as you would say in English, England. Anyway, but yeah, so basically, it worked, in my opinion, it worked like a pimping system. You would have your bottom bitch. In this case, it's an underage 14-year-old girl. So, like, I wouldn't use that terminology for them. And they also didn't know really what they were doing, so I offer way more grace with this. But that's how pimps work, is they have their bottom bitch, which is their first they're the first woman that is willing to stick with them and actually help bring in other women to into the stable, as they call it. Um, so he was just doing the exact same process, but with 14-year-olds, because how are you going to get other 14-year-olds? You're not going to be able to, like, yeah, you might get a couple with a 19-year-old in a cool car, but the 14-year-olds are going to trust their 14-year-old friends more than they are the 19-year-old with a cool car.
Yeah,
Um,
very true.
so yeah, that's essentially how he got them. And then this was another victim, I forget her name, but she described it, Virginia described it, everyone pretty much described the same thing as like their first massage with Epstein. It's like they're massaging him for 15 minutes. Like he just sort of comes in, he's laying there, ass up, pretty much 15 minutes, and then he just sort of flips over.
Which I find is
And
the most disgusting thing ever.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
he just sort of, but that's how he tests them too, is like he flips over, puts you in that fight or flight position, and because you're already there and this is normal, it's like, well, I guess I'll just and there's probably plenty of girls that may have done stuff with him, like a hand job or something, just to like, because it was fight or flight or freeze, right? And they were probably in the midst of like freeze and flight, and so they like did it just so they could get out of there and never go back. I mean, who knows how many girls have been there, did one thing, and then like never went back. There's probably a handful of those that we don't even know about, and they're not going to tell us because, and I'm sure in their minds it's like, well, I was young and I only did this little thing, and so like I don't want to be associated with all that.
you-
Um,
when I dated my
but then, yeah.
when I dated my 65-year-old man, or 60, I should say 60 plus. No, okay, yeah, okay, fine. Um, he never asked that. It was always like, hey, I felt more like when we were dating, it was more like a companionship. You know what I mean? Like we would go out to
Yeah.
dinners. He would tell me, hey, get your girlfriends together, go on a private jet. I'll fly you to Vegas with your friends. I'll meet you out there. We'll go out to dinner. We'll go out to this, but never, I swear to you, hands on, like down, whatever, up, down, whatever. He never asked me. I never kissed him. I never did anything with him. It was always like, oh, can we go? It was more like a talk. Like, hey, do you want to go out to dinner? He would shut down the whole restaurant. Now, mind you, he did ask me to marry him. And the reason why I
Mhm.
did marry him, because at the same time, I was like head over heels over my husband. Like I was like, okay, I want this guy. But now I was chasing him. And it took me a long time to chase him to get, and that's a whole other story we can go into. But um he never pressured me for anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And after when a woman scorn through you, because I was married before him. I was married previous. I just going through a divorce. My mind theory at that point at 25 was I'm not going to marry for love. I'm going to marry for convenience. I'm going to marry
Mhm.
to, I have a little girl. I got to take care of her. I got to make sure she's okay. I always went like that was my mindset after my divorce, right? So this guy that I was dating, I was like, okay, well, he's well off, could take care of me, could take care of my daughter. But I ended up at the same time, I ended up finding my husband, and I ended up falling in love for him. And at the same time, I was dating him, and he was like, when my husband asked me to take it to the next level, literally the same day, that guy asked me to marry him. The same fucking
Mhm.
My husband today asked me that same day to move in with him. I was like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was like an oh,
Yeah.
love you, honey, if you're hearing me now. But at that point, and maybe that's sometimes what girls look at. Maybe it's more, you know what, a convenience to be taken care of financially in the future. Like
Yeah.
because like Hugh Hefner, the
Yeah.
was it the three girls that were with him, Holly, uh I can't even remember all three of them, but they a lot of girls dated
Yeah.
Hugh Hefner. Maybe that was like a
Well, Well, Hugh, I think we should probably stay away from him because it sounds like the person you were with was uh, better in terms of different when I say that. Because there's a lot of stuff about Hugh Hefner that people don't realize where it's like, okay, maybe not so much. But
Yeah.
in the case that you were talking about, like with yourself, yeah, like that this is the other thing is a lot of escorts say that like their favorite not because the guys don't want to have sex or whatever, but their favorite best paying clients are usually men who don't want sex from them. They want to talk, whether it's like go to dinner, sit down, whatever. Like people don't realize, as much as men have been getting shit on in the media for rightful purposes over the last handful of years. Um, yeah, when it comes to the stuff like the actual like large majority of clients for, I mean, this is assuming you're not, um, you know, like trolling Figueroa for like a crackhead hooker, and I don't mean that derogatorily, but there's a difference, right? But for like escorts and women who aren't who get their clients not from going up and down the street and doing drugs and being in that situation. Yeah, a lot of them have said that their best, even the OnlyFans creators, like their best donors and everything, are people who literally just want to have a conversation. And I think that a lot of men, like, and especially, well, men or women in your older age, like her boyfriend is like a 35-year-old music exec or whatever. It was actually Amber Rose's ex-husband or something. I don't know. Anyway,
Oh,
but yeah. So it's like at a certain age, yeah, they're kind of buying companionship, but if that person happens to be pleasant, then it's worth the expense. Like they wouldn't keep paying. They wouldn't keep funding a lifestyle. They wouldn't want this person around if they weren't getting what they need out of it, which is in a lot of cases companionship. Now, of course, there are a whole ton of degenerate old guys with money that like, what starts as companionship ends in like, what the fuck is happening with my life? Oh my God, I need to run. Like,
oh yeah.
but
You know what made
yeah.
me run out of that whole situation? I'm gonna be honest with you. The reason why I ran from that relationship was we went out to dinner and it was he completely closed down the restaurant. It was beautiful. I really enjoyed myself until the waitress came over and said, "Oh, so and so, it's so nice that you brought your daughter here tonight."
Oh,
That was it for me.
yeah.
That was what, after that night, I said, you know what, respectfully, thank you for a wonderful time, but unfortunately, this is gonna stop here. This was the end.
Yeah.
That was I don't want to be the daughter, the sister, I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. And we moved, he moved on. I don't even know if he's, I mean, I guess I can look because he was pretty famous in Beverly Hills, so I'm pretty sure I can look him up. But I just didn't want any after that. That was like that chapter closed for me, and I moved on. And my husband now, we started really taking it to the next level and serious. And when he asked me, I was like, I was head over heels over my husband. I chased him for a whole fucking year, and that motherfucker made me a year. And let me tell you, he would be like, nope, nope. I was like, fuck you. He was more worried a sexual harassment. Well, gotta say it on air. He was my boss. I was his secretary, so he was worried about that whole thing of sexual harassment. So I'm like, yeah, you made me chase him for a whole year.
You're like, I understand, but that's not going to stop me.
And here we are 21 years later.
Yeah.
Um
No,
so
but I get it, and that's where a lot of, especially a lot of men, where they're like, well, how do these stupid chicks get themselves in this situation? They deserve it. It's like, well, these stupid chicks are all underage for the record, and not 18 underage. Like they're very young. They were all recruited when they were like 13, 14, some as low as 10, 11, but 13, 14 seems to be general age that people in the files seem to like. I think it's because it's like, I hate to say it, but uh like you're a tween, where it's like a, I don't know if you have the word in the US. In Canada we say tween when you're like 12, 11, 12, 13, 12 or 13, like those two ages, because you're like kind of a teenager but not really a teenager yet.
You're right in
So
the
we call
middle.
it a tweenager, yeah. And it seems like that's the age they go for, because you're either a little developed or you're kind of developed, or one way or another, you're developed enough to not look like a super young kid, but and to not look like a woman. You're like in between. Um, I
Which
don't know
is
how to describe it. Yeah, you're in between. You're like, you don't look as old as a teenager. You don't look as young as like a 5-year-old. But like, of course, in the network, there are definitely people that want those ages. So
all right, give me 1 second here. I'm at the
yeah, no worries. And this is what good parents do.
I apologize. I didn't know she had came into my office. I turned around and like, it scared the shit out of me. Lord,
Well,
I apologize for that. Uh, anyways, let's keep going. Let's go to part 3, the investigation and controversial of the deal. Palms Beach police
yeah.
conducted an extreme investigation, but what happened afterwards could eventually become almost a controversial as a allegation themselves. So I feel okay. This is the part where we get into the allegations that they had, right? Um,
Yeah.
I honestly, I'll be honest. Fuck it. My opinion. I'm gonna say it. My opinion. I feel that they didn't do a good enough job.
Oh, yeah.
My
They
and
haven't done any job.
yeah, that and that's just to say my opinion is that I feel um they really let a lot of people down. He served approximately 13 months in custody with all these allegations that was going on, the highly controversial because of he was permitted I don't know.
So we're talking about the 2005 thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was like, the fact that he was given uh a non-prosecution agreement. Like, when do we give those ever to people that are caught diddling kids? Never, because it's an open and shut case pretty much. And so basically, I wrote a note here. Hold on. Oh, okay. I wrote a few notes. So with this one, the original investigation began in March 2005 when the Beach Police Department, which again, like, they've been receiving phone calls before this, but it was the first time they took it seriously. So they had opened a probe into Epstein after a parent reported that he had sexually abused her 14-year-old stepdaughter. So then the FBI launched a parallel federal investigation shortly after, um, and that culminated in a 53-page federal indictment drafted in 2007, detailing allegations of sex trafficking involving dozens of underage girls. Epstein escaped federal sex trafficking charges through several key factors. And this is where Alan Dershowitz comes in. Alan Dershowitz, in today's issues with the whole Gaza thing, he's one of the people that, when the world goes to hell in a handbasket, we can thank him. So anyway, his like, he had an elite legal team. It had Kenneth Starr, Roy Black, and Jay Lefkowitz. And mounted an aggressive defense targeting the lead federal prosecutor, Mary Villafana, and took the unusual step of bypassing local prosecutors to lobby senior U.S. Department of Justice officials in Washington, D.C. They argued the matter was purely a local state offense rather than a federal crime. And then number two, there's the non-prosecution agreement. So in '07, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, Alexander Acosta, agreed to a secret plea deal under the terms of the NPA, which is the non-prosecution agreement. So that gave Epstein federal immunity. So the federal government agreed to drop the investigation and shelve the indictment against Epstein. Co-conspirator protection, which is probably for Ghislaine. The deal granted unprecedented immunity to four named co-conspirators and any unnamed potential co-conspirators involved in his operation. Unnamed. So I could show up today and be like, yeah, I'm one of the unnamed. You can't do anything about it. Like, what the fuck? Like, who does that? Anyway, and then concealment from the victims. So federal prosecutors kept the existence of the deal secret from the victims while it was being finalized. Under the Crimes Rights Act, prosecutors are legally required to notify victims of plea deals. By withholding this information, prosecutors prevented victims and their lawyers from challenging the agreement in court before it was finalized. And number four, lenient sentence and extraordinary privileges, because he was sentenced to 18 months in jail but served less than 13 months due to good behavior credits. Furthermore, his sentence in the Palm Beach County Jail under extraordinary circumstances. He was granted work release for up to 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, which means he's just like he would go there to like sleep during the week, and then they just go there on the weekends.
Now this is where he had to he was required to write down he was a sex offender, right?
No, because no, because it wasn't federal.
Okay.
So it was only state. So that's why when I forget who released that most recent interview with him talking, the person asked him like, so are you a registered sex offender? And he technically wasn't.
But he was required to register as a sex offender. From
Yeah.
my understanding, he was required to. And in other parts of the elements of all this, he was required to register as a sex offender. But he didn't do it because of his status, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, he didn't do. It's one of those things, and this happens many times throughout his case. Like he didn't do it because there was just a high powered person that was just like, yeah, nah, don't worry, we'll sort that out. Because if he was a federal sex offender, like now, granted, he had all these passports as well. So I guess the countries that he wouldn't be able to go to, like the countries he wouldn't be able to go to if he was like federally, like on a federal list, then that would show up. So there'd be some countries that wouldn't let him in. But he had so many passports and also just his name itself. So there's a good chance that like he didn't have to register, and then that way, because with the yeah, like he pleaded guilty, but he didn't plead. He pleaded guilty, but it's almost like he didn't go to court at all, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Which,
yeah,
I mean, okay. Do you feel that he just got away with bloody murder?
Mhm.
I mean, I feel
I
like
do.
him,
Yeah.
P. Diddy, with everybody knowing all the shit that came out.
Oh, P. Diddy, like somebody was giving him a slap on the wrist, like letting him know that, like, because again, P. Diddy got 4 years when they had the evidence for 20 to life. So he got 4 years, but keep in mind, again, P. Diddy was part of the Boule, which is basically the black fast track to the Illuminati. But the Illuminati is also structured, right? Like, so, or let's say Freemasons to, because now that we can say and talk about Freemasons without being called conspiracy theorists, because they are real and they do exist, and the same families are involved. So I'll just say Freemasons to make it easier for people to digest, because some people still don't believe there's an Illuminati after all of this,
I
which is crazy.
I think it's
So,
insane.
sorry.
I believe I believe it. I believe it's insane because, to be honest with you, I didn't see I didn't even know about Illuminati until like all this stuff with P. Diddy, J Lo, all this stuff came out with the Kardashians. That's when
Yeah,
that's when all this shit came out. And I'm like, oh fuck. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah. Well, I mean, why do you think Kim Kardashian's mom, what's her name?
Caitlyn,
Fucking
Caitlyn? No. Yeah,
oh, Kris Jenner. Kris
yeah.
Jenner. She has a church. So not only do they funnel money through that church and launder money through that church, but like bad people go to that church. That church funds bad shit, and the money is completely unaccounted for because it's a church. So yeah, when they all say, "Oh yeah, we pay our mom 10% a month for being our momager or manager," right? They pay through that church through tithing. It's
Jesus.
so like they're all going to hell. Like they all want to say they're religious and then they're doing this. It's like you're all going to hell. Like there's no iteration of what you're doing in the Bible. Like
No, well, I mean, come
yeah.
on. Let's be realistic. What can Kim Kardashian have to offer besides her looks? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, well, you can look at
She's an Armenian who supports Israel. For Armenians, if there's one Armenian that sees this and hears that, they know what I mean by that, which is like ridiculous because they help ethnically cleanse us. So like the fuck.
and
But anyways, but that's where these people you can tell that they're complete sellouts because they do shit like that.
maybe she's
So
a smart, intelligent woman, but doesn't portray it in the media world. Portray.
yeah. Oh,
They
they all are. You don't get to that level without very smart people helping you, and in that process, you become smarter by learning from them. But yeah, at the end of the day, so someone like P. Diddy, getting 4 years is literally somebody telling him like, "Hey, it could be worse, and it could have been worse, and next time it will be worse." Like something happened where they needed to check him, probably his ego, because he's always had one. Everyone knows. So that's my assumption is it was an ego check because again there was more than enough to put him behind bars for 20 to life, and the fact that he only got 4 years, he'll probably be out in less than that. But even 4 years alone, that's why he cried and like rolled under the table and whatever. Like it wasn't like, oh no, I'm going to jail. It was thank God I didn't get life.
yeah.
But again, he's part of the Boule. So that's somebody, the Boule is like the Black Illuminati, the Black fraternity that you can join to get connections and the same things that you're supposed to get out of the white fraternities, right?
Yeah.
So but again, the Boule, because there aren't very many black fraternities that are a pipeline to success like this, being a part of it essentially just means you're part of the bigger picture of the Illuminati. If the Illuminati was like a world map, like you're one of the countries on it. Um, so he really like that's where a lot of his influence comes from. That's why when he had that event that like what was it like 6 to 10 college kids died when he was 19. They all got crushed in one of the events that he
Oh,
held at yeah.
I
Like
forgot.
he's had blood on his hands from the moment that he got into the industry.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so none of this is new. This is the other thing. None of this is new to these people. Like
Oh, but I think it's
getting
out in
yeah,
social media. Like it's not. They don't really say it in social media. Do you know what I mean? And especially a lot
yeah,
of new kids. Like I look at my kids and I go, you know, it's not out there. And it's interesting how all all this ties in together. It's interesting how everything and like I said, a lot of people, look on Netflix. There's a lot of documents on the Epstein files. There's a lot of documents on the P Diddy, all this stuff. There's documents out there. Now,
Yeah.
what really, if Epstein had not been as wealthy and as wealthy and as well known, do you believe that maybe it would have been the same deal? Like if it was, a regular person out of the street. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think this outcome that they would have had would have been the same?
You mean the outcome for P. Diddy?
No, for Epstein. Do you think it would have?
Oh, no. Like I think when they first put him in jail, it was let's put him in jail because we don't know what to do right now. Like they already had the Epstein files. Um, I mean, the U.S. has proven time and time again that they already had the files for a lot of things. I won't get into like examples or those would be other rabbit holes, but um, so like basically, again, this with Epstein, I think it comes down to somebody either needed him gone, his time was up, because there was really no reason for him to ever stay arrested. There was no reason for him to go down. They could have probably told something to get him out, or even like got him out, and then he could have just taken off to Israel, and they'd be like, "Oh, we didn't know that that was going to happen." Like there's so many ways that he didn't have to die. So the fact that he was quote unquote killed, if you believe that or whatever you believe, but the bottom line is like um, they needed to publicly get rid of him for some reason. So I'm not sure that he would have got out of it this time. Also, at the same time, though, I think he's just a placeholder for all the placeholders. He's just the current guy that is running all of this stuff. I think all of this was running before him. It'll be running after him. It still is running today. I don't think much of that changed at all. Um, and it's just because again, because the sex trafficking is as terrible as it is really one of the more minor things that he was involved in. Like the transhumanism and all that stuff connects him to the other billionaires, connects him to the people that like are out here now using AI to try and achieve these things. It connects him to all those people, like the Elon Musks, Mr. Elon. I never talked to him, and then all the Elon emails come out, and it's like he's begging to go to the island. He's like, "Oh, I need to get away on one of the craziest day. What's the craziest day you're gonna have on the island?" And it literally reads like he doesn't realize that it's like a pedo island. He just thinks that there's a lot of like models and like maybe Victoria's Secret chicks or whatever. Like it really reads like he's like, and I'm not. I hate Elon, so I would love to say that he was a pedo, but it really reads like he didn't know. And he's so desperate in his emails, it's so pathetic. And then you see the email between Jeffrey and Ghislaine where he's like, "Handle this for me," because he just like you can, and by reading that, you can tell that Jeffrey was like, "I don't want to deal with this dork." Oh my God. And again, like like he met with everybody that was going to be influential or was currently influential or was influential in the past, but not the SpaceX and Tesla guy. Hmm.
Yeah.
And these are all Zionists that like Peter Thiel, who's also connected, and Elon Musk, whatever. Like so Elon grew up in apartheid South Africa. Peter Thiel grew up on the coast of some in the middle of nowhere African country, but the town that he grew up in is was 100% German. Like after the Nazis fell and they all took off to Argentina, including Hitler, who did not die in that bunker because it wasn't even his skull that they found. It was a woman's skull. Anyway, but like so they all take off to Argentina and live out their lives. Meanwhile, Elon and Thiel, like because Elon, his family knew about this stretch in Africa, but it was an actual like German town. And again, these Ashkenazi Jewish people are from Europe and like Germany, whatever. So and these guys are all Zionists, so I'll go to using the term Zionist because I don't mean all Jews, of course. But these days you got to say that you can't talk about Zionists without being like, I don't mean all Jews. But they're all Zionists, including Elon, even though he's not like Jewish and doesn't really have much to do with Israel. Like he'll be a Zionist to keep his Zionist buddies. Um, but yeah, these are all people that have extreme influence on us, but like no real connection to us in any meaningful way. Like, do you know a single person that was, do you know a single person that knows a person that was raised in Africa in any kind of like mono-ethnic insular community that doesn't belong there?
The only person I know that lived in that part of the world was Mr. Boombastic. Remember? I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
That's
And he's black, so it's like but like a bunch of white people, like literally, it's a German white town. They greeted each other with Nazi salutes and Hail Hitler every morning, like just like they did in Nazi Germany before they went down. Like that's how you say hello there.
that is
Um,
crazy to me.
yeah, so like these are the people that are trying to run us, and it's basically so like the transhumanism, so the baby ranch blueprint, and the cryogenics and cryopreservation, which is something Sam Altman, who runs ChatGPT and OpenAI, he's already committed to that. So when he dies, uh, they're going to either examine his brain or cryo freeze it to examine it when they have better technology or something. But he's donating his brain to science, where I'm like, unless you coded Chat GPT yourself, I don't know why we need your brain, but okay, sure. Like, I mean, like you had a good idea. There's been many good ideas over the millennia. I don't know why we need your brain. You're not like you have the same ideas as your fellow competitors and everything, but okay, sure, whatever you want. But again, that's the PayPal mafia. That's these guys. He's part of a so there's the PayPal mafia, there's the Epstein class, and then part of the Epstein class is there's a Jewish school group, I forget out of what university, and they're part of all this too, where a lot of these
And
influential people, yeah, went like they were part of that fraternity. I'd
wow.
almost call it the Bolshevik fraternity, like if I was going to call it anything. But yeah, so anyway, all of these people, like, and this is what makes Epstein and the Epstein case so scary, is like the sex trafficking, again, as I said, as bad as it is, as horrible as it is, like what really separated Epstein from your average pedophile and whatever is the fact that he had the money and resources to fund things like, cryo technology. There's even an email in the Epstein emails with Bill Clinton, sorry, Bill Gates discussing a loan with him. Why does Bill Gates need a loan from you?
I'm gonna
Like,
be honest with you. One of the files that actually kind of like maybe because so when I was younger, I did play a role in I won't mention names of the TV shows that I was in. But I was in a couple of TV shows as a kid. Um I I looked up to a lot of these people, and one of these people was Bill Cosby. And
mm,
when all this allegations came out to Bill Cosby, of course, I was already adult with kids. It broke my heart. I was like, "Oh my god, this is someone that I." And you know what? My husband actually said, he's got he's got he's a really dirty man. And I was like, "What are you talking about? He's a dirty man." He's like, "He's got a adult uh stand-up comedy." And I was like,
yeah.
"Shut up." I was like, "No way." Really looked at him as he's like the pudding guy, and when I he showed me these stand-up comedies with them, and to be honest with you, I was kind of heartbroken because I was like, this is a guy I looked at and admired that he cared for kids, and then when I heard his jokes, my heart kind of like, oh man, like damn, like
Yeah, well,
and my
like I know that.
I
Sorry.
live my husband always says I live in a bubble. He was goes, "You live in this bubble and you don't know so much." And maybe because, maybe because my parents always kept me in this little secluded area, right? Not knowing a lot of this stuff, but when I kind of broke my heart a little bit to see this how he talked. I was like,
Well, a lot of people didn't know about his stand-up though. Like, I mean, like people that are 10 years older than me, like some of them would know. But I didn't even know about his stand-up until people started mentioning it. Like I had seen one of them a long time ago, but I didn't remember anything from it. Like I think my dad was watching it or something, and he had changed the channel because it wasn't really his thing. But yeah, he was known for his comedy, and I knew that, but I assumed that his comedy was some like fluff bullshit, like, kind of like old school Ellen, where it's not really that funny, unless you like very gentle humor. That's what I assumed it was going to be. But the other thing with him too is he never treated women and children right. Like he never gave a fuck because when Lisa Monet was on the show and she got pregnant in real life, like he was so mad at her, like, and not like a dad figure. He was just pissed. He was like, how dare you? Because we can't have a pregnant teen on this show, and also my image. Like I try to like steer the youth and so it was all about him. She got pregnant young, and it was all about him and his dumb grown man feelings and whatever. And I don't remember if she was on the show after that or I think they transitioned her off, right?
something like that.
Yeah, it was because she was pregnant and she was pregnant young and he didn't want that on the show, which I get because the show is like a wholesome family show and there weren't a lot of those for black people, black families, but regardless of your family's ethnicity or race or whatever, like teen pregnancies happen like all the time. So they could have worked that into the storyline and turned it around and made it into something where like she's now a teen mother, have her finish high school, have her get into college, show the family supporting her while she achieves things, with having a kid. But we weren't like progressive back then, so he didn't need to be progressive at all anyway. But yeah, so that was one of the things that I remembered when it first came out about him, and people were like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Wait, I've heard asshole stories about him before, though." And I started Googling, like,
Right? And that's another rabbit hole we can go down, but it's just crazy.
yeah, yeah,
And I must recommend to all the survivors that did not stop with the Epstein files that um they kept going. This is one of the most important parts of the story. The case didn't disappear because of um the survivors uh the survivors continued coming forward, and they pursued civil cases. They spoke publicly. Attorneys continued to fight, and the journalism continued investigation. Years after the Epstein files, plea uh, renewed and reported brought national attention back to how uh his case had, originally been handled. And um and suddenly people were asking, how did this happen? Why was this argument made? Why wasn't the victims properly informed? And why had had the men facing so much serious allegations and received so much favoritism treatment?
yeah.
this was something that was I must recommend and say, you know what, these survivors that didn't stop, thank you for not stopping. Thank you
Yeah.
for keeping going because I know a lot of people that have gone. I mean, I know that I come through my ex-husband was a very abusive and I'd be honest with you, that shit gets tiring when you keep fighting and you keep fighting,
Hmm.
fighting, and people are not listening to you and they're not taking your word because they go, oh, well, you're the one to blame for. You're the one who didn't clean the house properly or you didn't do what your man wanted you to do. I'm thank you for keep thank you for not keeping your mouth shut and keep fighting for what you stand for and
Yeah.
all of that because without the survivors that didn't stop, this file would not have been so publicly announced.
Yeah, well, and the only reason we're all not still like, because again, our China succeeded. China built TikTok to launch into the US. It was actually a Chinese psyop to shorten the attention span of the average North American, and it absolutely worked. Um, so if you think about it, like hundreds of Palestinians are still being killed every day. The Epstein files and that network is still intact. Um, the property manager, like I told you, I think on the station head, the property manager, the original one, when Epstein was there, is still there managing the property today. And if you sneak onto Epstein Island, that crazy bitch will kidnap you with her and her brothers and a couple people, and there's a literal dungeon that they will take you to. You can look it up on YouTube because the YouTuber went with a few friends and he got gassed out, so he told them to run, and they ran to shore, got in the boat, and took off. That's the only reason he made it out. Like he probably would be dead right now if they didn't know that he was there with friends and they saw those friends taking off, right?
Yeah.
So they had him in the sun. He's completely sunburnt because he was like waiting, and they're like yelling, and she's like uh, bipolar as shit. Like first like we're gonna kill you, and then she comes back, she's like we're not gonna kill you and we're blah blah blah. And eventually, yeah, they put him in the dungeon that has actual chains and shit. And then the local authorities come, like someone from the police station, and they're like negotiating, talking or whatever in a different language. I don't know what language from around that area. But anyway, they're like negotiating about his life pretty much and like what to do with him. And he thought he was gonna die right there, and they ended up letting him go. Um, and luckily, like he got a bit of footage during some of it. Um, but yeah, he's not the first person to even account for being attacked, like going to the island. And of course, yeah, you're not supposed to go to the island, but you would expect that there would be like just a regular security team there that they see and they're like, hey, get off the island, you're trespassing, or they detain you for a minute, the local police come up and then like trespass you or something. You would expect a regular uh, kind of response to because of course people are going to these properties, they want to see if they can get onto them or whatever, but the regular result of that is like you get fined, maybe you get like a month in jail or something in some places depending on, I don't know how the laws work there. But no, what's actually happening is you're getting like beaten and like handcuffed and kidnapped by the property manager, and then local police are coming, and who knows how many people have gone on the island, and they didn't have anyone else with them, and they thought like maybe they'll get an exclusive or whatever. Like, no, bitch, you're getting killed apparently in a dungeon that you have to like go down, and it's in the rock cliff. And then you have to remember, like, Ghislaine had her, what do you call it? Her submarine boat um, license, and they had a submarine. So there's a lot of people that went to that island too that they don't need to be on a flight list. So this is the other thing about the flight list is like, do I believe that the flight list was from his plane? Yeah. There's a lot of names on it that none of us expected. Like even the Obamas, just a lot of celebrities like Jay-Z, Beyonce, like a lot, and people in that sphere of like music and hip hop and like different types of music, like just musicians in general. There's a lot of people on those logs you want to expect. So maybe they cherry picked a bunch of celebrities so that all the big celebrity fandoms, which make up of hundreds of thousands, if not like in some cases millions of people, being like, "Oh, not my celebrity." So then they're more concerned about their celebrity being on a flight log than they are about like what's actually going on. And that did happen for quite a while. But then eventually it was like, "Hey guys, this is about rape and like sex offending. Um, it's not just about flight logs and celebrities." And then that got people back onto the track of like, oh, okay, yeah. So then they started focusing again on that. And then, something happens in the US government that's totally ridiculous and the focus goes off. And so that happened, in my opinion. I feel like that happened for quite a few years. And then finally it was like, no, we need to see these files. Where are the files? And it's like, then people like the response to literally everything over the past year and a half, if not two years at least, has been, yeah, okay, what about the Epstein files? Like, have you noticed that where over the past couple of years, but not so much this year because this is where the change happened. So like last year, maybe the year before, anything that happened big in the news, it would be like, okay, cool, but Jeffrey Epstein. Like no matter you go like one, two comments in, and there'll be something about Epstein. This happens, you'll see a comment about Epstein. So that was like really still happening for the last couple of years. And then there was October 7th, and people so like again, not everyone is from the West, so there's going to be countries where they're more interested in other shit. But with the Western countries, like the Jeffrey Epstein thing, kind of like talk about that went down a bit, and then it was the people voicing it, getting it back into circulation, like, hey, don't let this distract you. Like we have our own problems too. But October 7th was big. So obviously it kind of like threw people for a while, but then it was back to what about Jeffrey Epstein? And then it was like, maybe this is happening because of Jeffrey Epstein. Like even as little sense as that makes, right? Like people it was still in the front of their minds. So that obviously wasn't good enough. Bibi needed that. The whole Israel reasoning and whatnot, like, is a whole other topic. But Bibi needed that. Israel needed that more than the West did. That's why they had to stand down orders and let it happen. Just like the U.S. knew 9/11 was going to happen before 9/11, and they did nothing either. So, like again, that happened, threw people off for a while, and then we got back to what about Epstein? And in my opinion, with this whole Iran war thing, like I think that probably the files. Yeah, I think Russia has them. I think China has them. I think Israel has them. I think Iran maybe has them, or at least has some of them, or has access, because I would imagine that at least like Qatar or uh, some other Middle Eastern country got them. But Iran and China are pretty good allies, so China may have shared with them, who knows? But holding any type of influence over the American president would be like a card you don't necessarily want to give to just anyone, even if you're allies, right?
So I have a
So,
question for you.
yeah,
I'm here in the US and you're on the other side of the world. If
yeah.
anybody who's listening, Kaylee's on the other side of the world. She's in Thailand. So how big was this documentary there versus here?
Oh, it's not in Thailand? No, they don't care about Epstein.
Really?
Yeah, like in Thailand, because like in the borders, all through the borders, pick a country that Thailand borders, it's happening there. China mainly pays for it, but there's other countries and our own countries and whatever. But all through the borders are like call scamming centers and prostitution rings and human trafficking networks and whatnot. Um, and they're dealing with their own shit. So when the Jeffrey Epstein thing, when the files first came down, I think it was sort of like here they're like, oh, there's something happening in the US. But since the time that I've been here, like there's always been something happening in the U.S. When I first got here, it was on I guess I don't remember if Bush was in office, but it was like at least on the tail end of it, which is crazy because there was like it was much more rural. There was the development you see in Phuket was not like that. Like it was before the Russian invasion, the Chinese invasion, all that shit. It was very quiet, like much smaller. Anyway, so when I got here, though, people would see white skin, and I'm not from the U.S., so they would look at me and they would go Bush, Bush, because they didn't speak English or like much English at all, and so like all they knew about like white skin pretty much was Bush because Bush was launching the global war on GWAT, the global war on terror. Um, and that was like, yeah, 9/11. Yeah, so 9/11, anyway, that's all they knew because Bush had launched these wars. So th like when I came here to their way of saying hi or to get my attention, it was just Bush, Bush. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, yeah, Canada, Canada. And they're like, oh, okay, okay. But yeah, so in Thailand and I would say Vietnam, Cambodia for sure, probably Bali, like a lot of these countries, I wouldn't be surprised that if the Epstein network got women from them, but no, they don't know anything about the Epstein files and whatever. Like you'd have to have an educated person like Martin, who he's my friend, he's Burmese. If I went to him and was like, "Hey, do you know what the Epstein files are?" You'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's like that guy that uh, had sex with like a lot of like young girls or something." Like he would be able to articulate that, but your average Thai probably doesn't know. Um, but that's the thing is like because they have their own weird issues going on. But then in other countries, yeah, yeah. I mean, look at Algeria, right? Like where Ivanka Trump just happened to come across this island, and with her and the boating crew, and they got off on the island, and they ran up on their bare foot after snorkeling around, and it was so beautiful. And so we're gonna buy the island, and she leaves out the fact that the island has old war tunnels all the way under it, like a whole uh, tunnel system and bunkers and everything, right? And of course, she's married to Jared Kushner, who's covering the Epstein files, covering Trump, um, pushing war in the Middle East, and buying islands. All of the Trump kids are buying islands. I wonder why. And all of these islands have bunkers and all that shit. So yeah, but at least in Algeria, I think it's Algeria. Is it Algeria or yeah, yeah. But they started rioting the moment that Ivanka like announced that they were going to take this island because they didn't find it. It's actually a nature preserve. Um, of course it is because fuck nature. Um, it's a nature preserve, and also it's a bad look buying islands when your father has been mentioned like 300 times or 3,000 times in the Epstein files and the 6,000 pages that they've released, like that's not even half.
That's crazy to me. It's crazy.
And other members of Congress, like Republicans and stuff, they had that day where they were allowed to go in and read the unredacted Epstein files by themselves, but there was someone watching and recording who all the Democrats, like what they were looking at, and whatever. You weren't allowed to take notes, you weren't allowed to talk about what you read and whatever. So members of Congress have literally admitted to going in and reading these files. And just from the public ones, we know that there are a lot of American senators, politicians, whatever, tied up in this. And so we know that already. They know this more thoroughly. They know the information and more people connected to those people. And literally more arrests have been made over this in other countries overseas than in the US.
That's crazy. Because
Yeah.
Epstein got arrested July of 2019. The federal arrest came in, right?
Mhm.
Less than a decade after Epstein's Florida plea back then, um, federal prosecutors of New York arrested him, which is like, I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of like,
And
kind of,
remember, Virginia Dufresne had been working with the FBI and brought this to the FBI way, way before that.
and they ended up charging Epstein with sexual trafficking, conspiracy, and sexual trafficking of minors.
Yeah.
They also allegations of Epstein's had sexual exploitation, abuse dozens of underage girls in New York and in Florida. He pleaded not guilty. So let's make that clear. He did plead not guilty. Epstein was um, bailed and remained in federal custody while waiting trial. So he was there for a while. It's just
Yeah.
there. He was for the survivors. This this moment was waiting for years, and the federal court system, you know, this is a hard part because I do feel that it was a cop out for him to
Yeah.
um because in August of 2010, August 10th of 2019, I should say, um the death federal custody came in right to play, and
Hmm.
I feel, and this is my feel on anybody who is guilty and takes their life, it's a cop out. And the reason why I say
Yeah.
that is because my ex-husband took his life away. And I feel it's a cop out. For me, I feel it's like, you know what? You don't want to answer questions. You don't want to fucking do the time, whatever, you do what you do. And to me,
Yeah.
I think it's a cop out. I think it's bullshit. And it really makes me angry. And like I said, maybe I shouldn't put my personal matters into
Well,
play.
no, a lot of women do, and that's completely understandable. And that's the whole why this is so monumental because it opened the door for people like you to be able to even like relate.
Yeah. And that's why I feel that way because, like I said, my ex-husband, he took his life away. When there was answers, he needed to answer his not to me, because you know what? I'm the ex-wife. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't but when
Yeah.
you have a child and those child has questions, or anybody that has been abused or whatever, however you want to put it, there's answers that people want. And you don't
Yeah.
fucking give them those answers because of your selfishness or whatever you wanna call it. Fuck you. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, my opinion is just so they've recovered some of the footage that was quote unquote like deleted when the cameras were down, because the redacted files, when people realized you could put PDF behind the extension and it would unredact the file. I don't know if you saw that whole thing, but a lot of people were unredacting files and then uploading them real quick to get them out. Um, so in one of the unredacted files, there is a clip from the middle of when the cameras are supposed to be out, and a giant whiteboard is there covering the camera. Now,
Oh,
this could be covering his cell and he's being attacked, and because like the marks on his neck would not be from him doing this himself, uh, because it looked like strangulation. And so it's like, and his his cellmate was moved into the cell that day, and he's supposed to be held alone because he's a very like high priority and influential person. So he's supposed to be in his own cell anyway, and his cellmate was moved in like that
hybrid.
day or the day before. So in that time, is it his cellmate killing him, or is it him committing suicide? Or is it him being wheeled out on a wheelchair, like one of the guards said?
Why do you think
Like,
people don't want to believe? You know, you hear
well, here's the thing too is it kind of so there was the picture that looks exactly like him where he was sighted in Israel. Um, but more importantly, I'm so
right?
curious about Palm Beach Pete because
There was
if
one,
you look,
right?
sorry,
There was one in Florida recently where they thought they've seen him in
oh
Florida.
yeah, so shortly after his release, there was a drone because people were flying their drones over all his properties. They're flying a drone over Little St. James, and the drone captured a dude that looks like him, like leaning against a SUV, talking to what looks like a grounds manager or something. So there's that one. So there's and then later was the Israel one, which could have been like they flew him there. Who knows? Mm. And then after that all of a sudden there's the sighting of Palm Beach Pete. So Palm Beach Pete didn't have any social media at all before that happened. Uh, and then someone had made the like took the video of him. They're like, man, that guy looks like Jeffrey Epstein. Now, of course, when you look him up, he does and he doesn't, obviously, very obviously. However, with a bit of weight loss and what is it, buccal fat removal, what all the Hollywood people were doing, which is the dumbest thing ever. Don't do that, by the way. You're gonna need that fat when you get old and your cheeks start to sink. Yeah, without that fat, you're gonna look like all those cartoon grandpas with no teeth. So don't do that. But again, with a bit of weight loss, slimming of the jaw, and a bit of surgery, like it is possible. But why would you want to look like an uglier version of yourself? I don't know. Anyway, but the thing is, Palm Beach Pete had no social media. And that video comes out of him, and everyone's like, "Who is that? Oh my God, Jeffrey Epstein's alive!" Blah 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 blah. And then Palm Beach Pete gets social media, and he's like, "I'm not Jeffrey Epstein. I'm Palm Beach Pete." And which, like, if you were a normal person, like, you would make a video and go like, "Hey, I'm the Palm Beach. I'm the person that was driving in Palm Beach that you see in this video. I'm making this account because I don't use social media, and I'm making this video to say it's not me. Like, peace out." And you'd be done because you don't want the world looking at you like a pedophile, right? Like, that's just the bottom. That's what a normal person would do. Now, this guy instead went on a podcast run. Uh, like, he does all the podcasts. Like, he's on Nelk Boys and everything. Um, uh like he now is on all over social media and everything, and it's just the only thing though. Again, I don't think it's him, but it's just fucking weird. I don't understand and nobody can explain it. But like, if you look at his teeth when he talks, like, freeze it, look at his bottom teeth, and then have Jeffrey Epstein's lined up right beside it, they're the exact same minus like a couple teeth, which look like they could have moved. Now, if you had extensive facial surgery, that does move your teeth, like in some cases, depending on, especially if you're doing stuff with your jaw. And Palm Beach Pete, like, the reason he doesn't look like Epstein is because he's thinner and has a slimmer jaw, like a slimmer face in general. But that's possible to achieve with surgery, in which case, yeah, your teeth, like your major ones, it's not going to move them all around, but it can move a couple others. But the main thing is that when you look at them, the main most important teeth match up like perfectly. Um, and then the other thing is, uh, shit, what was it? So there was his teeth, and oh, in that, in the court interview or whatever, and you can just YouTube and see a side by side. But there's an interview where you can see Epstein's stutter. I think it was on F, like the a word that had F in it, and he stuttered, and he had a natural stutter like that. And so does Palm Beach Pete.
Huh.
So teeth records and stutters, that's pretty hard to like, unless you're an actor and you've been studying this character for years and years and years, prepared to play them. like I don't really know how you can explain those two away, but at the same time, I just don't think it's Epstein. And their personalities are way different. So like I'm yeah, like you could maybe fake something for social media, but like it's just the stuff that could be faked, it just seems like too much. Because we're not talking wearing a different hat. We're talking like faking a stutter and having the pretty much the same teeth and just things like that, and being like polar opposite personalities, and being very goofy and like whatever. So I think it's just I hate to say it like because conspiracy theorists always say like, "Oh, this is a psyop. This is a psyop." This is one time where I'm like, maybe this is a psyop. Like, maybe they're trying to get us to really wonder if that is him, because again, the public knows what we know about teeth records, which is nothing, to be completely honest. What do I know? Nothing aside from I know that's not supposed to be possible. Like, but I'm not a dentist. And so, like, it could be something put out there to distract us from the fact that he either is alive or he's dead, and it's to distract us from looking into the other people even further. Because there's no way that nobody has gone to jail over or even been arrested over any of this thus far uh, without some type of corruption. Because again, more people have been demoted. Like Prince Andrew, I don't know. Eventually, he's going to be in a cardboard box, but whatever. At least they keep putting him into smaller houses. Like, but like the royal family has openly done that, and but the other thing is they openly do that because Queen Victoria and the King used to fly to Canada and kidnap native children and bring them back to wherever, who the fuck knows. But they were baby thieves too, so fuck them. And there is like actual documentation, and there are old websites where you can see like native mothers and fathers like writing notes. They tried to file international court cases and stuff. And if you look on AI and ask about it, it'll tell you it didn't happen. It fucking did. Use actual Google. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like AI is even protecting these pedophiles. Like the information you can scrape from AI about these people, whatever, you always have to like anything involving Israel or the name of the people in the Epstein list. It's really those main two ones at the forefront right now. But at this point, it's going to be anything they want to censor until AI is like until they get super AI, which is like actual sort of autonomous thought. Um, they have the ability to change even what that is telling us or limit what it will tell us.
Yeah,
So
that is true.
yeah, that's why you have to use actual Google, and then you're probably going to have to act for the first time ever go to page 2 to start your search.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that. I missed the library. You have no idea.
Yeah. But you remember the days of Google where if it wasn't in the first like 2 or 3 links, like it just didn't exist.
Yeah. No, I do
Yeah.
remember. And I missed that. I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen. This is Epstein's last interview he had. Um, and I'll play it a little bit. This was on
Yeah. Do you think you're the devil and everything?
yeah, so I'm just gonna play a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And how everybody let's see, listen to it. Do-do-do-do-do.
Some things I want to do inquire from the others. Walk me through the Santa Fe Institute. What was it about the time of the math? And this was in the late 90s. So they're not going to hear me on this part, right? We're going to do it both ways?
It will not be on the video, but we do have you recorded.
Fine. Remember, when you're answering on these questions, I'm not in the shot, and they're never going to hear my voice. So a little bit, you got to repeat in your answer, you got to repeat what my question was.
Oh,
A little bit.
okay.
Santa Fe Institute. Why, when you're at the top of your game on Wall Street, do you decide to finance, which was at the time, or endow, or become the donor or sponsor, however you want to say it, for what was considered the most cutting edge group of mathematicians?
Baby farm.
Action.
Center for Institute in the late 80s, early 90s. I was interested, I was on the board of Rockefeller. So that starts, Rockefeller University, formed by John D. Rockefeller to sort of give back to the community. It's east side of Manhattan, except it was old. It was sort of old fashioned. They were talking about medicine, and medicine by itself was again subject to the ideas of science. They were trying to use science to find cures for disease. And I said, no, we need to do something different. We need to start interdisciplinary work. In most,
How did a schmuck like you get on the board of Rockefeller? What year was that?
I don't remember, late, I think 89 and 91.
So that's one of the most prestigious research places in the world, correct?
Yes.
Okay, how did a guy like you get on the board of a blue blood, internationally known, hard research, Nobel Prize winners all over the place? How do they pick a guy like you, a trader from, or basically some guy from Bear Stearns?
He represents the Rothschilds.
So I was asked to be on the board of Rockefeller, and I think it was, I was on the board of Rockefeller. There was a money manager who said, Rockefeller needs someone with financial expertise because the university is growing and there's lots of new things. You have to, again, we go back to the original discussion the last time. Up until the mid 80s or sort of mid 70s, the most important thing was your
when
name.
he was weapons
If you were
dealing.
Rockefeller, you already were considered to be brilliant. If you were head of General Motors, it was your reputation. It was who you knew, who your family was, what was your character. And then in the mid 70s, basically, if you remember, you probably had a calculator. It was very advanced in those days to have a Texas Instrument calculator where it could, by putting in the numbers, it would multiply for you to do square roots. And that was the first, and everyone who had a calculator was already advanced on Wall Street.
So to me, I look at him and I don't know. I think if I'm looking at him and he's telling me a story, I think he would I think I would buy it, to be honest with you.
Well, he's been described as very charismatic. And I think if you don't, so you could say again, well, the question is why you in particular? Like he's still skirting that notice.
Yeah. He looks like a smart, intelligent man that if he would to tell me, hey, invest, $5,000 or whatever, I'd probably be like, okay,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, a lot of people said that about him, like scientists, like legit people.
I would look at him and be like, okay, but then again, it gives me the vibes of, Scientology type of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, this is why so the SAS, which is England's secret service, like secret assassins and stuff, like the James Bond types, if you get me, where they can like you throw them in a forest and they can build you a house with a piece of plastic, starting with that, right?
Yeah.
So the SAS guys are some of the most capable and deadly people in the world. And the US has Delta Force, but they're like teams. And SAS guys generally work on their own, but there are people within Delta Force that do. And then I think there might be a tier in the intelligence group slightly above that, which is kind of SAS. I don't know. However, the reason I bring them up is because if you looked at an SAS agent, they are your average dude or woman. Like they don't look like much. They're fairly slim in stature because they need to be agile. They look like your average person generally, but they're like the most dangerous person you'll ever meet. So, and that's all on purpose. There's a Sean Ryan interview you can watch with an SAS guy. They call him Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just kidding.
No, Obi-Wan, is it Shinobi? Because he like single-handedly saved I think it was Kenya, like this one city in Africa from a terrorist attack. Like literally went in there like with his guns, and he was told to stand down, but he just couldn't. And so he went with his gear, and he was like going in, like shooting up, pulling people out, running back in. Like he was terrorizing the people inside that were trying to terrorize other people. They were like fucking yeah. And so he saved that whole place. But you look at him, and in his real life, like in his real life, he's a gene model for like Jordache or something. And but just slim in stature. Like I'm sure he's got like a six pack when he's in shape for a shoot or something. But like slim in stature, just regular looking dude. Really, if you saw him walking down the street, you wouldn't think anything more than you would anyone else. You know. Um, and so and Jeffrey Epstein has been obviously linked to intelligence, and Ghislaine 1000% is linked because her dad was like a superhero in Israel. Like when his Ponzi scheme broke in the UK, and he was about to be like well, he was going to go to jail. And there was no fixing what was coming down the pipe for him. But then suddenly he fell off his boat, which was also called the Ghislaine or whatever, because he had 9 kids and she was his favorite or something. But yeah, suddenly he fell off his boat in the middle of the train or whatever and disappeared. Like they couldn't get his body, and then they found his body, and of course he's dead. But when his body was taken back to Israel, like he was given a hero's service, and like people of like up to the prime minister and everything, like they all went to his funeral. He was buried in the most sacred ground in Israel, which is like it's a small plot, so you got to be someone pretty special to be put there. Um, so that's Ghislaine's father, and he was also a double agent because he was supposed to be part of, I think, some other intelligence, whatever. But he clearly worked for Israel in the day, and he owned the company, the company that owned the publishing company. And people get this wrong. He didn't directly own the publishing company. He owned the company that owned the publishing company that created all of the North American textbooks that we use to learn stuff, which is why we only learn about the Holocaust and not the Jewish participation in, say, like black chattel slavery, for instance. Like they own the blocks, selling blocks, and they own the boats, and they insured the boats, and they ran capital and so on. Like I mean, but like lots of people were involved. So, but again, they're written out. So they're written out of it, and the Arabs are also written out to the point where they're really like only in there as terrorists for the most part. But they don't teach you that a lot of the words we use in mathematics are Arabic because Arabic people. I think it was an Iranian or something before there was an Iran, but they found out about like gravity, and they had concepts for these and everything over 1,000 years before white people did.
Oh, that's
And a lot of the numbering system and stuff like that, Arabic. So like they've been written out of our history. Like there's so many people and cultures that have been written out of our history. And
so much.
yeah, it starts young with his publishing company.
Yeah, so much is written out. So I know we've been going on for 2 hours and a half, and I don't know if
Well, I
you.
have something for you really quick.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you were free for next Friday. I'd like to continue part 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, part two, we could go through some of the because I made a list because he was into like I said the baby ranch. There's the baby ranch blueprint, cryogenics and cryopreservation, uh, attempted Nobel sperm bank revival,
Yeah, I don't
and
think we got into
funding Humanity Plus. Yeah, and
I
his bizarre art collection. He had a customized private submarine, and his bizarre dental and medical files.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're free next Friday, and I'd love to get into part 2 of this and really get into the nitty-gritty of the stuff, like really deep dive now into everything. And I know we've been going on for, kind of setting the story.
Yeah,
Free next Friday. I'd love to do a part 2 on this and really get deep dive into the rest of the nitty-gritty that I honestly feel that a lot of this stuff wasn't really publicized. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm saying it
Yeah.
or not, but it wasn't really, because there's a lot of things when I was going down this rabbit hole. I was like, oh, I didn't hear about that. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't even hear about that. Oh, I didn't even hear about I'd like,
Yeah.
in part 2, I'd like to get into the really deep dive of the heart of everything, because there's even things that on the island, and there's people that are saying, he really didn't commit suicide. There's been pictures of a gentleman that looks just like him driving in
hmm
Florida, going in and out of this island.
And there's been a drone shot of Ghislaine, and the lady that's in jail right now looks nothing like Ghislaine.
Yeah. So, if you're free next Friday, can we go into part 2 and go into
Yeah.
the gritty? And because I feel bad because you're on the other side of the world where the time difference is so different from us. Because for us, it's
No,
already,
it's only 9 a.m., so no worries. We
oh,
started at 9 a.m., so yeah.
and get into the nitty gritty of everything. And hopefully Bree will be with us and be able to, all of us, our opinions on things, because this is a
Yeah.
very big controversial story, because it
Well,
involves.
I could send you all my links before Friday, and then you could go through them and like put them in order of what you want to talk about if you want.
Yes, absolutely. So for all of you guys, thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us. And I'm so honored to have Kaylee on our show because she is awesome, an amazing person, and I adore her. I love her. We've known each other for a long time, and we've been on another 2 apps. So we've known each other for 5 years plus.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, she's a hoot and holler. And we're getting ready to launch another show that's called Going Down the Rabbit Hole. We are working out all the little logistics on things, so bear with us. But that's another show that you'll be able to find both of us on another show, whether if it's on YouTube or another app called Station Head. That's something where we're going to be talking about a lot of these things that, really going into depth of um, things that, you know, uh, things that you would never
Don't
even think.
make sense.
Yeah, it don't make sense because I've been going down these rabbit holes that she's put me through. Let me tell you, hours at night, I'm going, holy shit. Oh my God. What the
Doesn't it leave you with a sense of where do I live right now?
One of those things was like the Great Wall of China. I went down that rabbit hole and I'm like going, oh my God, really? Yeah, she's got me going through
Yeah.
some holes and loops in the middle of the night instead of looking at TikTok, Apple I love you scenario things. I'm going down different rabbit. Yeah, so definitely next Friday we will be doing part 2 of the Epstein files. Please come join us and hang out with us. It's been a pleasure, and thank you, Kaylee, for coming and hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so honored to have you back. We had you a long
Well,
time.
thank you. Yeah.
I love you and adore you, and I think you're an amazing person. And thank you so much for hanging out. So
Thank you too.
we will see everybody next Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, going down part
I'm
2.
not about to throw my hand out.
Definitely. Love y'all. Peace out and we're hanging out. Peace.
All right. Bye.
Bye.